In today's video, I'm going to show you how to turn this dull presentation into a dynamic, immersive experience for your online franchise for Madden 26. Doesn't matter if you're on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. I'm going to give you the secret sauce so that you can make high quality content in literally minutes with my easy to use drag and drop Photoshop templates. Then we're going to take a brief look into Adobe Premiere Pro where we'll put it all together. So get yourself a nice warm cup of coffee, kick your feet up, and let's take a peek under the hood inside MGN. Not a lot of creators do this, but my goal isn't to be a gatekeeper for information. These skills I've developed over the years just from trial and error. What I've learned in school while obtaining my bachelor's degree in game development has gained me well over 20,000 followers across all social media accounts. So if you want to keep your viewers immersed, upgrade your video editing skills, get monetized on YouTube, and get well over 1,000 subscribers, then this video will help get you started. Here's a list of things you'll need to follow along in this tutorial: Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, and my Photoshop templates. Obviously, you'll need to be working on the computer as well. Both Photoshop and Premiere Pro have a 7-day trial you can use to get started. Plus, if you're a college student, you can get up to 57% off your total subscription, which is definitely a win in my book. And because you're watching this video, I'll include a secret discount to my website that will give you up to 50% off from now to July 7th for the 4th of July weekend. A lot of savings you definitely want to take advantage of. I'll also link everything in the description of this video, so it's a one-stop shop. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. All right, so first thing you want to do, obviously hit the link in the description. It'll take you to my website. You'll actually have access to all of my templates. All the templates that I've been using over the last month or so, well, essentially you'll have access to. And if you click on one of the templates, so let's just say we click on the Fox, it'll give you a brief description. Obviously they're on sale right now. Also, we're doing buy two, get one 50% off. So you're saving a lot of money purchasing right now for July 4th weekend. And I'll show you how to add all this stuff to your cart. But if you just want to check out what you're going to be purchasing, obviously click on the image. This is everything that's going to be in this bundle. Got the lower third, just a bunch of information right here, a bunch of templates. And I think this one has 7 or 8, or it has 7 templates inside of it. All PSD files. You obviously want to make sure you have Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. These are Photoshop templates. Once you find the templates that you want, again, if you buy 2 of them, you get the third 50% off. Just gonna add it to my cart, clicking that, go to my cart, hit checkout. And obviously you wanna log in with your information here. I already have that discount code applied, but with the code, and because you're watching this video, you'll see it first. You'll actually be the only one to see it because you're watching this video, so appreciate the support. Gonna hit apply. Obviously you're getting a discount for each bundle, $5 off, and then $10 off that a bundle, and 50% off with that code. So it'll come out to 3 templates or 3 bundles, over 25 templates for $159, which is a really good price. Oh, actually you'll get a code sent to your email, and you'll be able to download that those files right from that link. All right, guys, so the first thing you're gonna do is open up Photoshop. Obviously you don't want to open up the file necessarily. You just want to make sure you open up Photoshop, and it's gonna allow you to obviously see your previous projects right here in this area. Open up any of your previous projects right here up at the top. I'm going to assume that you guys are already somewhat familiar with Photoshop, but if you're not, I am only going to go through the procedure, the process of actually working with these templates. So assuming that you've already purchased the templates, you've already downloaded them, you already know where they are in your folder, what you're going to do is double click on it. So let's drag the folder right here. You're just going to double click on it. It's going to obviously open up right here in Photoshop. So whatever file you want to work with, they all essentially work the same. But again, we're only going to use the tools that is necessary to complete, said project or whatever it is that you're working with. So we're going to be obviously doing the Texas versus the Chiefs. So all we need to do is change a few things within this template. So let's assume we want to do a quarterback comparison for CJ Stroud and Patrick Mahomes. Now all you want to do, obviously you have to have your image files already saved. So I've already saved the Stroud and the Mahomes PNG files. And if you're not familiar with a PNG file, it's essentially just an image that is transparent behind it, so you can manipulate the background of that image. You can download this literally from Google. Go to google.com, type in CJ Stroud PNG, and you'll see a list of images for whatever player you're trying to find, and download the one that has, whichever PNG file you want to essentially download. So let's assume we want to take Metcalf's PNG file and swap it with CJ Stroud. All you're going to do, go into your file folder, click with the left click, drag it over to DK Metcalf, release it, and CJ Stroud's image is going to pull in right there. What's really cool about the way these templates are, I've created placeholders. So there's literally nothing you could do to mess this up. And if you do just so happen to mess something up and you're not able to fix it, I can show you two ways to redo your previous step. You can either go edit, undo, or if you're tech savvy, you can press Control+Z on your keyboard, and that'll bring it to its previous steps, just in case you mess it up. So like if I'm going to tell you guys what this is, but let's just say I want to drag something and I mess up the image, just press Control+Z and it'll go back to the previous step. Now, what I normally do anytime I import images, I check this box right here. It maintains the aspect ratio of that image that you dragged in. So you see how I just messed that up with CJ Stroud? That's because this aspect ratio button is not pressed. So we're going to press Control+Z. We're going to make sure that that is checked, so that now when we drag it, it's going to maintain that aspect ratio. And we can drag this to its proper seating within that placeholder right there. This background, I want to change this background to the Texans. What I normally do, I will make sure I get the Texans logo inside the image first, because I want to use the color scheme from that logo to change everything within this graphic. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. This does not have a placeholder. So the best way to change this out, so go to the folder where all of your team logos are, and here's where I store all mine. If you guys need the team logos, you can download these just the same as you would if you were downloading the image file for the players. But with any purchase, I will just go ahead and send you this folder. It has all the PNG files for all 32 teams. But what you're gonna do is get the image from your folder, while the logo is selected from the template, drag your new logo in, release it, and it's going to essentially place it within the same layers on the right side, the same layer order as the image that you had selected. Now, all you're gonna do, drag it to where it's pretty much the same size as that previous logo. Press that check button. Come over to the Seattle Seahawks or whatever logo it is that you're trying to replace it with. Now you see all these presets. You can mess with this all you want. You can turn off these effects by clicking on the eyeball. I wouldn't. I think the image looks fine as it is. All you're gonna do to copy these presets over to the Texans is right click, click copy layer style. From while Seattle was still selected, then you're gonna left click the Houston Texans logo, and you'll know it's highlighted or selected by obviously on your layers menu right here to the right, and also visually right here on the left side or within your viewport. And you're gonna right click paste layer style. So now the Texans have pretty much the same presets as the Seattle Seahawks. Now all you're gonna do is click the Seattle Seahawks, since that's not needed anymore, and press the delete button on your key. Now you have the Houston Texans logo, essentially the same size and same presets as the Seattle Seahawks. Now we want to change the color scheme here. All you have to do now is click on the image that you want to change the color for. Go over here to your layers menu. Go to the gradient overlay. Double click, left click. And this little layer style menu is going to pop up. The only thing you need to change here is the gradient color right here. So left click it, it's gonna bring up another menu. All you're doing is changing this color. Now, since the Texans color, and it's gonna bring up a few different menus. Since the Texans color is pretty similar, I'm gonna change it to this red. So all you're doing, once this color picker stop color is on your screen, all you need to do, because there's this little fill button that's gonna come up on your screen, all you need to do is select the color you want to change that background to. Now, if you want it to be blue, obviously you select blue. But we're gonna go with red. Now that color may be a little dark. All we're gonna do is drag this up just a hair, maybe over to the right a little bit so we can get a brighter color, and then press OK. I think that looks cool. But you can obviously change this color to whatever it is you want. Once you found a pretty decent color, press OK. One thing I wanted to mention, don't ever mess with this. It gives it that gradient kind of color behind, makes it look like CJ is standing in front of the image. You can change it if you want to. Essentially, it'll make it either brighter or darker, but I think the darker blacks look better. But again, you can change these however you want to. Well, again, once you find a color scheme that you like, press OK, press OK. And you're pretty much halfway there, because now all you're doing is repeating the same process. So you'll know if these colors have gradient color schemes to them, or it's just a regular fill appearance. And you can tell by that, by if there's a preset or an effect on that layer. So again, we'll double click this and it looks like there is. So all we're doing is changing the green, just like how we changed the red. We're gonna click that. Now, if that doesn't look cool, if you want to pick a different color scheme, you can obviously go with a darker, go with the blue, but I think the blue actually looks better. Drag the blue up a little bit, probably make it a little darker. I think we'll go ahead and go with that color. Once you find a color that you like, press OK. You can leave all of this the same. OK. Okay, we're just again changing the colors for everything. I'm going to change the color to this, from this to the red. Now, as you can see, this is selected, but there is no gradient color scheme. So that means that the only way you can change the color on this is if you select the fill option right up here to the right. All you're doing is double clicking. You can go to the recent colors. Since we have a red, we've previously found a red. Photoshop is pretty smart and remembering the color schemes that you use. So you can just click this, or blue, whatever color you want. I think the red looks better though. And we can select out of it. Now we're good to go. Right here, as you can see, I have the color white inside the field. The way the layers menu works is it overrides anything you have up here in the characteristics or the character for that particular object that you have selected. So in order to change that, you go into the presets down here, left click. There's a preset for color overlay, so it's overriding that color. All we're gonna do is just change the color. Press OK. And I changed it by pressing this little color icon right here. Press OK. So actually I want to change that to white, so we're gonna change that. Just go in here, press OK. All right, so we're almost there. All we need to do now is change the text. So obviously they're not Seattle. Just gonna type Houston. And then this is CJ. So if this pops up, that means that the font that is selected, you don't have access to, or it's not downloaded on your computer. So all you're gonna do is you can either press manage, and this will essentially every font that's within this file will get replaced with the image or with the font that you have selected. So we're gonna go with this one, which I think is decent, and we'll go with these two, and we'll press OK. So all the fonts essentially have changed, and now you can just start typing what you need to type. So CJ, and we're gonna hit place. So it looks like this font didn't necessarily switch over. That's okay. So what I did was I just double left click, go to the font up top, and we can change the font to whatever we want. Now, there's some files or some images that are kind of small and kind of hard to get into. What I normally do is, if let's just say I wanted to change the text for this last week and I can't necessarily click on it, what I do, I'll press Alt, I'll hold Alt on my keyboard, and if you have a wheel on your mouse, just scroll scroll up, I should say, and it'll zoom in on wherever your mouse is. You scroll in or scroll out. That's essentially how you can kind of get closer to text or images that are too small for you to read. Now, this is a little closer to that Houston, so I'm just gonna move this over with it selected and pressing the right arrow key. You can click and drag, but to me, it's a lot easier for me to, and it's a little bit more precise to click it and press left or right to wherever I want that image to go. We're gonna click this little image back here to change the color. So it looks like there is no gradient color scheme for this. Now, if you get to a point like this where you're not able to see the appearance and there is no color, there's a way that you can change the color for this. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So with this selected here in the layers tab, and you know that and we're talking about this little background bar. Obviously you want to change the color, but there's no way to change the color because the appearance is not here. We can manipulate that by right clicking it, going into your blending options. And what I normally do, I'll probably go with a color overlay. This allows me to obviously change the color while still keeping any preset effects that is on this layer. You could go with gradient, but I think color overlay is probably just the right preset that you need. So you're just gonna click the color here. Now, with this still being on the color picker, you can now pick what color you want to change this color to within the image. I want to change it to this red, and I'll press OK. And we'll do the same for this bar as well. So let's go ahead and change this to whatever text that the player essentially had. We're gonna go with 360 for Stroud, 3 touchdowns. His QBR was, let's say, I don't know, whatever it says. Obviously in Madden, we're gonna go with a 98.2. Obviously, I'm just making numbers up. Make sure that's selected. Go into however you want to change your font. We're gonna go with this bold. And then he had 0 interceptions, which obviously if he threw, well, let's change this to 1. So that seems like it'll be a little bit more accurate. Now I'm going to do the same thing for Patrick Mahomes, and it's pretty much copy and paste at this point. So give me a second here. All right, so since we pretty much have a finished product, I'm gonna change this color to red. Give me a sec. I think that probably looks a little better. And I think that black looks really, really cool. We're gonna leave that all the same, or we can make it white. A second. So, make this white. And we'll probably make the background for old Patrick white as well. And I think that looks cool. So now that we have the image pretty much perfect the way we want it, you're gonna go up here to the top and hit save. Because now that you've manipulated your template, you definitely want to make sure you always save. Another little tip, you can press Control S and it will obviously save anything you made changes to. So if I move this over, click out of it, hit Control S, it'll save the project. So let's just assume you want to add some more images to your video or to your highlight. Now, obviously this is a ready image. You can go ahead and export this, hit File, right up at the top. go down to export. You can export it as a PNG, but since this image is fully completed, does not need any more alterations, you can just export it as a JPEG. And obviously when you hit export, you can export it to wherever it is that you want to export this image to. But for now, what we're going to do, we're going to edit another Photoshop template. So while this is still in the in your viewport, you can just go ahead and go to your folder where you have all of your files at, and depending on what you want to have inside of your video or whatever it is that you're doing, if you want to edit another photo, you can do that while this is still in the viewport. And that's normally what I do. I'm just giving y'all the tips that I normally use. We'll do this lower third here. So you double left click on it, and what it'll do, it'll open up inside of your viewport. Now right here at the top, it just has your open viewports inside of Photoshop. You don't necessarily have to exit out of this. You can leave it up. I'm going to leave it up so that I can later export it as a JPEG into a separate folder so that I can kind of be a little bit more organized. But let's go ahead and work with this template now. So the lower third templates is essentially the templates that you're going to have at the bottom of your screen. Anytime you want to display certain information while there is a video playing above it, this is what I normally call as a lower third. Now this works exactly the same the way our player comparison template works. Essentially all you're going to do now is drag and drop the images into these little placeholders. Let's drag the Chiefs into our folder or into our file. So you're going to left click where the Chiefs logo is and release it. What's really cool about this now though, while there is a placeholder in the image, it will copy all of the presets that the previous image had. So the Titans had that beveled embossed and they had the drop shadow behind it. So now all you need to do is drag it, obviously with this icon still pressed, because it's going to keep that aspect ratio. You're going to drag it and put it into the place that you want to put it into. Let's just say we want to work with one more template, okay? So we're going to open up, we're going to go back into our folder. This is a pretty cool template. I actually like this. So at that point, you just double click in it. It's going to give you all your presets right here on the right within your layers tab. And all you're doing now is changing stuff. So where your, oh, sorry about that. Where your logo is that you want to replace. And we're going to use the Texans because the Texans are winning, right? So left click where the Texans logo is, drag. Now you see how this is outside of the placeholder? The gray button, the gray bar is the placeholder. You don't want to mess with that. See how this is clicked? That means I'm going to start changing properties here on the placeholder, which I don't want to do. I want to change properties on the Texans logo. So I'll go right here within that placeholder. And now that it's selected, whoops, I'm gonna go back to it. Now that it's selected, we're just going to resize it, repurpose it to a decent size within that placeholder. I think that looks cool. Again, I'm just pressing Control, mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down to zoom out. Obviously this down here allows me to move around. I can, with the mouse wheel down without pressing Control, go up or down pretty easily. So now at this point, we're just changing colors. So again, if you want to select the color that is within the Texans logo or use some of the recent colors, you can. The reason why I do that, I leave these tabs open, is because, like I said, Photoshop is very smart. So it's going to save all these colors that we've already selected. Now, if this menu is not up, all you're going to do is click this little rainbow icon. It's going to bring up your color picker, and you're just going to pick the color that you want to kind of display. So we're going to go with this Texans red, press OK, and it'll update right there. Click out of it, and you're good to go. This is another placeholder you can drag your logo into. Let's go to our team logos, drag the Texans logo into this placeholder. Boom. It is already in. I'll drag this over just a little bit. Sometimes when you double click this, nothing happens. Just go over to the tab right here on the left hand side. Make sure that the text icon is selected. Now you can type into it. And I think that looks pretty cool. So we're going to hit File, Save. All right. So now that we've completed the images, I think we have a decent selection with these 3 templates right here. We're going to now export these images into a folder, which if you export the images into a folder, it'll allow you to organize, be a little bit more organized. So I'm going to go to, since these images are already, or these templates already say, go to File, Export. I would export them as a PNG file, but you can, for this particular image, you can export it as a JPEG, and I'll kind of explain why here in just a second. Now, anytime you export images like this, lower thirds, obviously you do JPEG for that, but lower thirds, centerpieces, even stuff like this, where there is obviously, you obviously want something displaying in the background, you want to export this as a PNG so that all of this is essentially transparent and you can drag it on top of a video or image. So in order to do that, go to File, Export. You can quick export as a PNG. I tend to do export as and just change it right up top. So your little export menu is going to pop up. Change it as a PNG file, and it'll make sure that this image in the background is transparent. Canvas is going to be 1920 by 1080. That gives you that HD resolution. Hit export, and obviously you want to export it to where all of your project files are going to be. And then we'll do the same thing for this. Now, if you want to do animations, so for example, let's say you want this Texans logo to slide in, and then you want the offense of font to slide in from the right side. You want this bar to slide in from the left, this to slide it. I can teach you how to do that, but for this particular tutorial, we're just going to do the basics in creating a video, but I can show you guys how to do that in a later tutorial. But for now, I just kind of want you guys to get kind of acclimated into, you know, the whole process. All right, now we are going to go over to Premiere Pro or any video editing software that you want to use. Now let's say that you have someone that have sent you over the highlights and you're doing a weekly recap like how I would normally do for my league. Let's assume, and I'm gonna teach you guys a real neat trick. Let's assume that we misspelled offense right here. Since Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe Photoshop is essentially the same manufacturer developed them, there is a system that allows both of these apps to communicate with each other. File, export it again. Make sure this is selected, hit save. Obviously we want to replace it. Don't worry, we're going to come back to it, but this allows you to work within 2 documents at one time. So let's minimize Photoshop. Let's open up Premiere Pro. Now, in most cases, more, I guess, powerful computers are able to handle both of these applications or multiple applications at one time. Obviously, you want your RAM to be, I would say at least 16 gigabytes of RAM to be able to have both of these applications open. I got 64, so I should be okay with having both of these applications open. But in most cases I do, and I'm gonna tell you why here shortly. So now we're in Premiere Pro. We want to go ahead and click on New Project, and it's gonna ask you where you, or what the title for your project is gonna be. We're gonna say Texans. Whoops. If I can spell. Texans versus Chiefs. Where you want that to be, obviously have no template, and I'm going to skip import mode, because if you don't, it's going to ask you to import a video. We don't want to do that just yet. Waits a little bit, then you're going to get to your canvas right here. Obviously right up at the top, it has the name of the project. Right up here you have your source, where your effects and your audio mixer is. Right here on the left is where your project files are going to be. Any graphics templates that you have pre-installed, library, all of that neat stuff. Then right here, you have your sequencer. In most cases, you will have your viewport, and I have my viewport on another screen or another monitor. So we're just gonna drag that here so that we can see what we're working with. Small window. You can obviously drag this out if you have multiple monitors. You can now start dragging in your highlights. So this is an MP4 file. It's a video that one of the users in your league sent you. Now you want to start editing it. In the folder where that file is, all you're gonna do is left click, drag into the timeline. Now there are some cases where if you release this, it won't bring in that file. Maybe this did not import the actual audio for this. What you can do, obviously, like I told you again, to redo something, Control Z, what you can do is drag it into your project so that it properly brings in all of that good stuff, all the audio and the visuals for it. So now that that's imported, we're going to drag it into our workstation here. All right, now that you've imported your highlight into Premiere Pro, now you're ready to start editing your project. Now those files that you've already created in Photoshop are essentially going to be in a folder, and best thing to do, best practice I try to do is just drag them into your timeline. Now you can drag them into your timeline like this. I have it click, I've left clicked it, drag it into my timeline, make sure it's essentially above your highlight. Or you can drag it into your project folder right over here on the left. Best practice, create a bin. A bin is just another fancy name for a folder so that you can be a little bit more organized. What I tend to do, I'll have my highlights or footage. You're essentially naming these folders, and you want to drag, these are your highlights right here. You just want to drag these into the highlight folder. And then you also want to create a bin for your graphics or media. I want to add the last one here. So left click, drag into this graphics media folder. We're going to bring this back over here. Now all of our media is right here for us to quickly left click and drag into the place that we want it to be. Left click, drag. Now what I tend to do, I have my footage at the bottom, I have my graphics right in the middle, and if I have any transitions, you don't necessarily need it because Madden is going to they've done a pretty good job in terms of transitions. But if you want to create your own transition, I can show you how to do that in another video. But I tend to put my transitions right up at the top because the way the viewport works, or it goes from top to bottom. So anything at the top is going to override whatever is at the bottom. So as you can see, even though the CBS is above the highlight, it is overriding anything within the viewport. That's the only thing you're going to see. So now we get into a part where we just want to edit the video. Okay. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. It really depends on what you want, the story that you want to tell, or the 3 templates that we created. This graphic is probably something we want to show before the game. Okay. Because it's showing what these players did in the beginning or over the last few weeks, or the last week, I guess you could say. So you want to make sure that this is going to be essentially one of the first things that people see, which in this case, it's kickoff. Sorry, let's mute her. It's kickoff. So it's probably something I want to show probably before kickoff or right after kickoff. So we don't want to show people picking their plays, right? So we're going to put this little timeline, or this essentially this shows what's the viewport is looking at. You want to drag it right before it gets to anything that you want to cover up, and drag your image here. So now when you play it, You can press space bar to play the image or play the file. Drag it back here a little bit. It's going to cover up what we don't want the viewers to see. Depending on what you want to, you can obviously alter the timeline or how long this is displayed by hovering over the left side of that graphic or that image, and you'll see this little red icon show up. If you hover this to the end of it, you can just click and drag to a point where you want it to stop. So if we unmute it and listen.
Talk about quarterback, talk about a game-breaking running back, a home run hitter when it comes to wideouts. Oh no, today before this one, we're talking about a couple of tight ends.
I think we'll actually drag this over. I think because she's talking about quarterbacks and essentially a quarterback matchup, you might want to have this graphic being displayed a little bit longer right before the kickoff. Now, another neat tool within within Premiere Pro is preset effects. So if you want to add like some type of effect, you see how dull this looks? Let's go ahead and expand this a little bit. See how dull this looks when it transitions? It's just a quick kind of it doesn't have much life. You can add some type of transition to this graphic by going over to your tab over here to the left, and essentially what you want to do is click on effects. So effects is not being displayed. It's in this window. All you want to do is click these little arrows right here and go to effects. And if you're not seeing it in that window, you might want to click window right here, workspaces, and just go to editing. What editing is, it's going to show pretty much every tool necessary to make any changes to any graphics, any video files. So I usually work within the editing workspace, and it should have effects then placed over here in this window. Then you'll click effects. What I normally do, you got a bunch of different presets, audio transitions, video effects, video transitions. What I normally do is go to video transitions, and you have a few different options. I like to go with something like a wipe, and I think band wipe is pretty cool. Essentially, it's going to show you right up in that window. So all you're doing, actually, let me show you here, Control Z to go back. All you're doing is clicking the effect, left click, dragging it to either side of this graphic. So I wanted to show on the beginning of it, but I also want to show on the end of it as well. Then this essentially allows you to make this graphic bigger within the timeline. But we're going to drag it down so that we can see what this effect does. Bring it back a little bit. And it shows exactly, we'll mute her again. It shows exactly what's going to transpire and what that effect does. Now, you see, if you want to be very, very meticulous like I am, you see how when I transition, it still shows that footage in the background? I don't really like that. So all we need to do is just drag, left click the actual image and bring it up forward a little bit to start that transition a lot faster. See how I did that? That essentially covers up that play picking stuff, and it makes it look just a little bit more. Now, obviously, this graphic right here shows the final score. Depending on what footage you have of this game, you obviously wanted to have this towards the end. Now, as you can see, this image is very, very big compared to the display of the footage. We don't want it that big, right? So what I normally do with this selected, you're going to select the image that you want to have, you want to make any changes to. I'm going to left click it. Go over to motion, or go over to this tab where it says effects controls. Go to your effects controls, and you want to transform this image to be a lot smaller. So in order to do that, effects controls right here in motion, just left click motion. And if you look at your viewport, it's going to give you these six anchors that you can use to shrink this image down to size. And I think having it to about there is a decent scale to ratio. You can come over here on this side and make changes by scrolling down or left or right, but I feel like that's kind of counterintuitive to me. I think just being able to shrink this and enlarge it the way I want it is a little bit better. You can obviously left click in the middle wherever the image is to drag where you want it to be displayed. I think right here is a decent place. Also, if you want to be meticulous, there's two different scoreboards right here. I want to take this out of the image. So before this play, with this cursor selected, or you can select anywhere on the timeline. You select anywhere on the timeline, you can fine tune where you want to start making your edits, and I'm pressing left right here. So I'm gonna start it right here, and I'm going to cut this video file so that I can bring this overlay on top of that video file. And I'll show you what I mean. So within this bar, you have a few options here. This is what is selected right now. It's the selection tool. You can click it, move stuff. All you're going to be using now is the razor tool. So you'll left click the razor tool. If you're tech savvy, just press C on your keyboard and it'll go right to it. Let's zoom in a bit by left clicking this little dot and scrolling over to your left to expand. And this essentially trims any file that you want to cut into. So for now, or this footage, for now, we're going to left click. It's obviously saving for us. Left click. Now we want to stop it right there. We want to take this bottom scoreboard out of the frame. So we're just going to left click this video file. Left click this, because this is the one we want to change. Go back up to effects, motion, and we're just gonna drag this until that is out of the frame, so that when this plays out, we can't see the scoreboard, and now our graphic is overriding, and that's what the viewer is going to see. All right, so now that the beginning of the video is done, now we want to work on the middle part, right? So what we can do now, I know this kind of makes sense. This doesn't make sense because it says offense. So let's say if we want to change this to defense, right? We want to change this font to defense. You can't change it in Premiere Pro. It's not possible. What you can do, since Photoshop is already open, and I love this tool because it allows me to work between both applications. But with Photoshop still open, all you're going to do is open up Photoshop and change the information right here. So let's go ahead and change that right now. So we changed it in Photoshop. Now we're going to do is save it. File, export it. Now this is very important that you export this as the same file type as you imported it into Premiere Pro. And what I mean by that, it was a JPEG, right? So you're going to export the JPEG. You're going to export it to the same place that you exported it or imported it from in Premiere Pro. And you want to make sure the file name is the exact same. So what I do, I'll just left click it, make sure that the file name changes, hit save, replace it, yes. Now when you go back to Photoshop, it automatically updates that information. So let's say you have a file that is years old. As long as it has the same file name, same file type, same file location, you can edit, change, do whatever it is that you want to do, because Photoshop and Premiere Pro works within the same, I guess, application. So they both work seamlessly. And I think that's really cool. It's pretty much called like a live update. At this point, we just want to show this graphic to a more relevant part of the video. So we'll probably play it right about here. I want to get it right after he essentially gets up before the play start, or before the play selection starts. So about right here. So yeah, we're going to bring this over a little bit more. I think that's perfect. All right, now that you have completed everything in your video, I'm going to show you guys how to export it. All you want to do right now is go up to the file right up top, hit file, go down to export, and go to media. Now you can send it to Adobe Media Encoder, but I feel like just exporting it to just regular media just works a lot faster to me, and there's no too many issues. You export it, make sure you change the file name. Obviously, you want to change where you're gonna export it to. You can literally put this anywhere. I'm gonna put it here. I always leave this stuff the same, but essentially what match source means is when you imported the first file, it's going to pretty much copy that information. So we imported that highlight, and it was a 1920 by 1080p. So that's just basic, your basic HD. You can export it to a higher quality. It's obviously going to take up more space, take up more time. But I always try to export down, not export up. So I just leave this the same. And then you just want to hit export. So literally about 30 minutes of my time, I just created something that I think will resonate with a lot of viewers. And now you can too. Everything is essentially at your fingertips, and you're able to make some really quality content for your league and for your viewership on YouTube or wherever it is that you're promoting your highlights for your league. If you guys have any questions, please comment any questions below, or if you want some more in-depth kind of feedback, please hit the link in the description, join the Discord. And finally, I want to see what you guys can do. I want to see some of the content that you guys make with these templates. So post them, tag Fix Madden Presentation in your video, or if you're in my Discord, obviously send the link from your YouTube, and I'll definitely be sure to check it out, critique it, and maybe even promote it on my channel. As always, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.